Hello YouTube, this is Jay Kaufman reporting in again. Now, I wanted to speak on some things that you don't really see all over the internet or, with young reefers trying to understand things. We're going to talk about nitrates to phosphate levels. Now, your nitrates are considered, as an NO4 and phosphates is P03 or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, these levels are measured in different types of parts per million. I prefer to measure my phosphates in parts per billion versus the parts per million with a Hanna checker. My nitrates, on the other hand, I check them weekly. I don't care how long my tank's been around or how old it is or whatever the deal is. People have a lot of different mixed feelings about, what your level should be or where they should go or how it's going to be. I will let people know this particular nano that people have been following me on is about 7 months old. And if you can tell, it's full of SPS and mixed reef and all kinds of other stuff. And a lot of it is with, experience, and when you run into problems or issues with things, especially algae is a big one, especially for younger reefers. You really gotta kind of get an idea on what kind of problems you're going to run into. So here we go about the nutrient level issues. Now, the number one thing behind young reefs is that you're going to have some nutrient exports due to bacteria blooms and everything else, and you're going to try to battle it with GFO or a refugium or who knows what. But the key to the story is you got to kind of let the tank do its thing. You got to let it, nature take its course. I personally, this tank here at about 6 to 7 months, like I said, I am actually going to start dosing nitrates here in the next week or two. People probably think you're crazy, but a nitrate level of anywhere from 5 to 10 parts per million will keep health zooxanthellae growing and keep your SPS or LPS at that point happy. Now, phosphates or phosphorus, which, we'll talk about in another video, also help keep corals healthy. Now, if you have excessive levels of phosphates, this is one thing I tell a lot of younger reefers or people who ask me, hey, Justin, how come your tank doesn't have a lot of algae? Well, I do have some. I have some down here on the bottom. It's a new reef deal. It's a little cyno, but that's because my phosphates are above 0.15. Right now, they're at about 0.23 or about 65 on the Hanna parts per billion checker. This is something that I've been battling with this tank, probably because I've been a little lazy on my husbandry and on my sand. You can clearly tell I have to do a very healthy refugium, but if most people would understand that, well, chaetoalgae will definitely take away nitrates, because as my nitrates are right now are at 0 parts per million. But phosphates is another hand. Also, my feeding schedules change very depending on my phosphate levels. So I feed certain foods due to nitrate and phosphates. I will be dosing nitrates and I will be changing my feeding schedule. Reef roids, reef frenzy, certain flake foods I feed, but I also balance it off of what, like I said, nitrates and phosphate levels are. You can obviously tell corals are happy. They're always eating and feeding, and they're doing their thing, and they're growing crazy. Right now, my alkalinity, I'm dosing about 3.5 to 5 mils per day on alkalinity. Calcium stays about 1.5 mils. Magnesium about 1350. Now, I also dose ferrin, which is considered iron. And I also dose something that people are a lot scared about is iodine. Now, iodine and iron are two things that corals love to live. Now, I'm an old reefer. I've been doing this for over 15 years. Back in the day, we didn't really have a lot of technology behind things. And, your biological filtration took a long time to build. So, iron and other things. You can even do strontium. There's all kinds of stuff, elements you can dose. But you really just got to kind of pay attention to what the tank is telling you. Now, my iron dosing I do, it's random. It's maybe 1-2 mils a month, maybe every couple weeks I'll dose a mil. But that also helps your chaeto algae grow because it strips iron from your system. I'm not going to tell you to run out and buy an iron test kit and be like, hey, I need to test my iron levels. I don't know what they are. I need to start dosing it. It's not like that. Iron levels can be lethal, but you don't want to overdo it. You kind of want to take your time. Now with iodine can be very lethal to your aquarium. It is a very, very, very strenuous element to your aquarium, but the only way you're really going to get good levels is with an ICP test. Now, I have sent ICP tests with this particular aquarium, and I literally a little bit on the low on the iodine side. So when I dose 2 mils a month of literally iodine. Now, that's a couple drops. I'm not going to tell you what I use at this particular moment, and I'm not going to say if you're a younger reefer and you got an aquarium that's, under a year old to start doing that. I've been doing this for over a decade, and I kind of can see when problems come happening. So like I said, I think maybe, just maybe, if people are having problems with phosphates or nitrates or stuff like that, you kind of need to let your tank cycle, and you need to know what you're going into. So subscribe to my channel, like it, ask questions. I will be looking at my channel now daily. I have been away from my channel for a while due to work and COVID-19 and all this good stuff. But if you like what you see, like I said, this is a small little 30-gallon. Kind of stepped out of the hobby for a couple years. I've had a lot of big aquariums. I've owned a fish store, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So any questions or comments, let me know. And you guys have a great day. Happy reefing.